D word. Now we'll return to deer and their management. The direction of travel, as this committee heard during its scrutiny of deer management, appeared to be SNH cutting funding to DMGs. And there were a couple of examples we were given where DMGs had been asked to step in and provide the funding to continue one project, to develop another. So I'm just wondering how you see that progressing and how we can expect deer management groups to start to do what they ought to be doing if the funding support is going down.
The overall funding support for deer management has not reduced. However, we know that there are some deer management groups, and this came out of our deer review, that are actually managing deer in that locality very well and actually don't need as much support as they might have been given. There are other deer management groups who are either facing a kind of more complex set of issues or for whatever reason need more support. So what we've done is try and target our funding onto those deer management groups who actually need it the most.
Yes, we've written to them asking what sort of issues they face and making it clear that we'll be taking a more robust approach to addressing the issues in future.
Okay, I think you've indicated to us you've secured an additional £175,000 of funding from the Scottish Government for deer management. How's that being deployed, and is that in any way adequate for the task that you face?
So in terms of that deployment, that's one point. Excuse me. That funding has come available through some recycling of SRDP funding with the Scottish Government's agreement, and that is being used for habitat assessment and control measures in particular areas. We're confident that through the work that we do with deer management groups that we can make great strides in addressing these issues. We prefer, wherever we can, to have a very good dialogue with the local community, and I think in the majority of cases we do have that very good dialogue, which leads to voluntary cooperation and voluntary agreements in terms of management of deer in the locality. But
not in every case.
Sometimes not in every case, but some of the kind of more well-documented areas where it's been a more challenging situation. Actually, we have worked with all the partners in those areas to arrive at a position that all stakeholders can agree. But we understand the challenges, but part of our role is to appreciate the different views, the different needs and the different outcomes sought from different partners and try and negotiate a solution.
In terms of the costs associated with policing deer management, I mean, how expensive are Section 7 orders if they work, if they don't? And what are the costs associated with Section 8, although we know as a committee that's something SNH has seemed reluctant to move to?
I think our reluctance to move to Section 7 and Section 8 is not simply a cost equation. It's back to my earlier points about actually we tend to get much better outcomes when it's a negotiated settlement, if I can use that phrase. In terms of the actual costs of Section 7 and Section 8, I don't have that information, but I'd be happy to provide it.
But what you're saying is cost is not the determining factor about how robustly you pursue this? No,
cost is not. We would much prefer, and we see that we arrive at better outcomes when we have voluntary agreements that all members of the community and all stakeholders can sign up to.
And this is not a strict budget question, but it would be remiss of me to pass up the opportunity, given our interest in the subject. What progress is being made around Section 7s since this committee produced its report? Are we seeing any further progress?
In terms of their use?
Well, not just of their use, of their effectiveness, because there were considerable questions asked about the effectiveness or elements of the effectiveness of Section 7s at the time.
I don't have that information, but Alan, or we can write to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's where some of the additional money is helping, because it's actually it's paying for habitat assessment so that the impact of the deer can be made much clearer. And it's also helping support control work as well. So it's a bit of incentive to actually get out and get on with the work that's been on the table for a while.
Okay. No doubt we and you will return to the subject in due course. If members have asked, explain